Oklahoma Gardening is a production of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the land grant mission of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University, dedicated to improving the quality of life of the citizens of Oklahoma through research-based information. Southwood Landscape and Garden Center, Tulsa's source for great gardens, southwoodgardencenter.com. And the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping to keep Oklahoma green and growing.
Today on the Best of Oklahoma Gardening, we'll be out in the lawn. Host Casey Hentges visits with OSU Turf Grass Specialist Justin Moss about an exciting new OSU Bermudagrass introduction. We calibrate our tank sprayers for effective spray treatments. We travel to Riverview Sod Ranch in Leonard, Oklahoma to see the Future of Sod Production. And finally, Casey takes off to Southern Hills Country Club, where they are using a drone to help keep their turf grass healthy.
Talking about OSU's newest turf grass release, and joining me is Dr. Justin Moss, OSU Turf Grass Extension Specialist. Dr. Moss, this is it. It's beautiful.
This is it. This is our latest release from the Oklahoma State University Bermudagrass breeding team, world-renowned breeding team.
Yeah, so you guys have grass all over the world.
All over the world. So Dr. Yang-Chi Wu is our breeder, and Dr. Dennis Martin, our turf extension specialist, does a lot of the work on this, and then folks like myself, we look at how they tolerate stress, and Dr. Charles Fontanier, as well as Dr. Nathan Walker and Dr. Eric Rebeck. So
it's a big team making this happen.
Yeah, we look at everything, and so this is the latest and greatest. It's called Tahoma 31 Bermudagrass.
Okay.
And so
what makes it so great?
Hey, Tahoma 31 is just beautiful. So that's probably the first thing, is it has excellent turf grass quality. What is that? That just means it's a beautiful green color. It's nice and dense, and it grows quite well in our environment. And so what happens with these grasses is our breeder, Dr. Wu, will develop several different experimental genotypes, and we kind of test them and narrow them down. We might start with thousands of plants, and eventually over many, many years get down to that one or two. You know?
Yeah, and this is the one that made the cut. That's exciting. Now I know Northbridge and Latitude 36 were touted as being very cold tolerant. How does Tacoma add into that?
So yes, Latitude 36, Northbridge, excellent cold tolerance. Tahoma does as well. Tahoma is probably a notch above those though. And the other thing that Tahoma has, which they don't, is excellent drought resistance. Now Latitude 36 and Northbridge are Bermuda grasses, so just genetically speaking, they're going to have very good drought resistance. But when you directly compare Tahoma 31 to those other two grasses, basically this one's, when it quits raining in July and August, and it gets really hot and dry.
And also when we're on water rationing.
And when we're on water rationing, Tahoma 31 is going to stay green a little bit longer. Compared to those other ones. And so this one actually has excellent drought resistance, as well as the excellent cold tolerance. And what's neat about this grass is we didn't just test it here in Oklahoma. So this went out to what's called the National Turf Grass Evaluation Program, and that's a program run out of an office in Washington, D.C. And so they actually will collect experimentals from different universities, different companies that want them to be tested. And then they contract with the universities all across the United States to test these grasses for 5 years. So they don't just look at it one season or 2 seasons. This is a 5-year-long test for these. And Tahoma 31 consistently at all those universities consistently ranked at or near the top in all those tests over those 5 years. And so that's why this one has come out as a winner. It's not just because we at Oklahoma State think it's really good and well adapted, but it actually performed well all across the United States.
That's fantastic. If I'm a new homeowner and maybe I've just built a house and I'm looking to put in a new lawn, or maybe I have an existing lawn that's already Bermuda grass, why would I maybe not go with the cheaper option, the common Bermuda grass? I mean, Bermuda grass, as we know, grows great in Oklahoma.
That's right. So you can get what's commonly called common Bermuda grass pretty cheap in Oklahoma. So that's Cynodon dactylon. This is a hybrid, so it's actually a combination of two different species, the common Bermuda grass, Cynodon dactylon, but also African Bermuda grass, Cydodon transvalensis. And just overall, the hybrids are going to have usually a finer leaf texture and a better look to them. Basically, when we look at them visually, they're more appealing to our eye.
Right.
And so it has better overall, excellent turf quality. But also, compared to those common Bermuda grasses, this one's going to have that cold tolerance improved and drought resistance improved.
So you might save on the water bill too a little bit.
You might. And you're just going to have an overall better product. And actually, if we can walk over and just kind of look at this area of the lawn here, and this is actually
a homeowner's lawn.
It's actually a homeowner's lawn that we did a demo in.
Yeah.
And we put another experimental grass here. They've been treated the same.
Which has really been
low to no maintenance.
Low input, yeah.
And you can really see the difference. That there's no difference in how these two sides were treated, but you can see the Tahoma 31 is nice and dense and green and not very many weeds. Yeah. Where this other experimental grass here, it's one of our OSU grasses. It's not going to make the cut probably, right? But treated the same and just it's a little not quite as dense and vigorous. And a lot of weeds here.
Yeah, there's definitely more weeds here. So is that just because it's got a thinner open canopy to it?
That's right.
Versus
and so your common Bermuda grasses, like we were talking about, are going to have canopies more open like this one does. And the nice thing about the Tahoma 31 is you can use it in a lawn, but you can also use it like at NFL stadiums. You can use it at Major League Baseball stadiums, and it is being used in those cases and being installed in very high-profile locations.
So it definitely handles more wear and tear.
It can definitely handle some wear and tear.
So
that's
where
for sure.
can homeowners find this grass, and can you do it through seed or only through sod?
Yeah, this is only through sod because it is that hybrid. And what's neat about this is it's been released through Oklahoma State University, and a company called Sod Production Services out of Virginia has obtained the license to it. And so we have so they're the ones that are actually responsible to sub-license to sod growers across the United States or even in other countries for that matter. And so they have sub-licensed Tahoma 31 to currently Sod by Sherry and Riverview Sod Ranch. And so it can be purchased in spring of 2019 in Oklahoma, whether that's for the sports field situation or the golf course situation or even the homeowner situation. So.
All right, well thanks for sharing this information. I know it was a team of people that finally came up with this conclusion of this grass, and it looks great.
Hey, it's a team effort, and also working with our industry partners and our sod growers to get this product out to homeowners and consumers.
We're getting into the gardening season, which means we might be getting out and spraying and using our hand sprayers. And joining us today is Keith Reed with the Payne County Extension Office. And Keith, you're going to talk to us about preparing our hand sprayers so that we're using them accurately. What's the first thing that we need to consider?
Hi, Casey. I want to talk about a couple of things today. One is just the basic setup of the simple little pump-up sprayer so that it will be an effective tool for us. And so the first thing we want to do is make sure, of course, we've got it pumped up. We don't ever want to pump it up so that it's a bomb. We don't want tremendous amount of pressure, but we want enough pressure in it that it does a good job of applying the product. The second thing I want to do is practice spraying, and of course I'm using just clean water here, but I want to practice so that my pattern, my spray pattern is doing what I need it to do, and that may vary a little bit depending on the product I'm using.
And you're talking about the drops.
I'm talking about the
moisture.
physical size of the drops. So for example, let's say I'm using a horticultural oil, and the idea there is that you smother the insects, so you need nice, even, complete coverage. For horticultural oil, I'm going to tighten this nozzle up a little bit so that my droplet size is fairly small.
And the oil is kind of a thicker material too.
It is. That gives me a nice solid coverage. Now, if I use that same nozzle setting to spray, for example, a broadleaf herbicide, and maybe the wind was blowing a little bit, I'm going to run a high risk of causing a unnecessary drift, and I could easily wipe out my neighbor's tomatoes in a worst case example.
So you would want to increase your droplet size.
So in that, exactly right. So in that case, I'm going to adjust, and I'm going to see the difference here. Now I don't want to go too far. I don't want to spray like that, but I do want to. I want to just experiment, and I do this on concrete so I can watch it dry and see how I'm doing. For the purpose of today's demonstration, let's say we're going to be applying a herbicide. So I want the larger droplets. So I think that looks pretty good right there.
Okay.
So after I've done that, I'm going to just step over here on a smooth, dry surface. I like concrete, and I'm just going to practice. And so think of painting a house. I go back and forth. I'm shutting my nozzle, my sprayer off as I make each pass because I don't want to overlap. So I'm just going to practice that as long as I need to until I can come up with a nice, even, repeatable pattern.
And this pattern's going to vary a little bit with each person, right? I mean,
sure. So that's an important point. What I'm doing today is only what works well for Keith Reed because there's a certain amount of subjectivity in here. I like to walk a certain pace. I like for my width to be a certain width. I don't want to try to go like this each time because that's hard for me to do a nice job.
But a taller person might have a longer arm and a longer span.
Exactly.
Now, I want to point out you're walking backwards, and there's a valuable reason for that.
Well, of course. So if I was walking forward, I'm just going to be walking through the pesticide as I'm applying it. First of all, that's going to unnecessarily get it on my clothing, so I want to avoid that. The second thing is, depending on what product I'm using, that could cause additional harm to the plant, or it could render the product less effective. So the next thing we need to do is determine what, I call it a carrier rate. We need to determine how much water this sprayer puts out per given area. Okay. Now, we come over here, we have a little test area set up. So I've used my tape measure, and then actually this sidewalk crack right here. So this is an area 4 foot wide and 25 foot long. Well, that's 100 square feet. And it's a small enough area, I can do it relatively easily, but it's also a large enough area that I feel like my accuracy is pretty good. If I was trying to do this step over 5 square feet, I don't think that's a large enough area. Okay. So I know I have 1 gallon in here. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm simply going to spray my test area.
So you've got your 100 square feet finished now with your consistent pattern. What's the next step? Okay,
that looks pretty good. So the next step is to actually measure and see how much water we have left in our sprayer.
From the 1 gallon
From the 1 gallon we started with. So let's come over here and do that. I like to just pour it in a 5 gallon bucket or a big container so I know I'm going to catch all of it. All right. And then I'm going to pour that into a container that has good measurements on it. And it's important to mention here, do not go grab a measuring container out of your kitchen.
Yeah, you really need to have completely separate measuring spoons, measuring cups for your garage.
So that is 2 quarts, which would be 64 ounces, and that's full. So I'm just going to dump that out. Once again, it's just plain water. And then it looks like we have 16 ounces there. So we had 64 ounces plus 16 ounces, so that's 80 ounces. Okay. We started with 128 ounces. So that tells us we used, if my math is right here, 48 ounces for 100 square feet. Okay. All right.
Of carrier, which is the water, right?
Of water, yes. So 48 ounces per 100 square feet. Most of our pesticide labels talk about volumes or areas in 1,000 square feet. So if we simply multiply that, we have 480 ounces per 1,000 square feet. And so once we have that number, that is something that's going to serve us well for the long term. I want to write that on my sprayer, or if I garden, if I keep a good garden journal, that's the kind of information you want to put down so we don't have to repeat this calibration step. And then using that, now I can go to my pesticide label, and it might say, for example, apply 1.5 ounces per 1,000 square feet. Well, let's say what I want to spray today is one small little shrub.
Right.
How in the world do I know how many 1,000 square feet that is?
And you don't want to mix up a big amount.
Right.
For a small space.
Right. So I can simply refer back to my known carrier rate, and that really establishes a nice baseline, which lets me do a good job spraying no matter what product I might be spraying.
Well, excellent. Thank you for sharing this great information with us, Keith.
My pleasure, Casey.
So we're here at a beautiful sod farm, and this is the home to Riverview Sod Ranch, and Mr. Charles Benny is owner and operator. And Charles, thanks for having us here today.
It's great to have you here.
So we've got some great grasses that we've looked at today, and we want to talk about a little bit. And a great operation that you have here, family-owned business, family-operated. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you have going on here?
Started in 1975. I was a home builder. Thought I'd couldn't buy any good sod, so I thought I'd do it on the weekends, just a little side job. 80 hours a week later, I'm out here 7 days a week, just hooked on it, loving these grasses from OSU. So they're great grasses. We've got, I showed you our experimental plots, all from OSU. They're all OSU grasses. It's distinctly from Dr. Wu's research and your research, and a lot of promise for the future. Great things coming.
So tell us a little bit about the cultivars that you have right now. I see you've got some a nice shirt and a nice hat here. What are you growing out here?
We're growing Latitude and Northbridge, the two that they have released, and they're beautiful grasses. They're on the OU football field. Great for the OSU game.
That's right.
And we're going to get ready to put it on the OU, new practice field next week, the Latitude 36. And it's in the Texas Rangers baseball stadium, and SC Dallas, the soccer field down there. They all love it. They all just love Latitude.
So a lot of sports fields, a lot of golf courses and things like that. What about the average consumer? Would they like these grasses?
They would appreciate that they would get quality. That's what OSU has produced. These are good grasses. They're ready to go. You can say you might spend a little more money buying a certified grass on the front end, but you're not going to contaminate. You're not going to buy a lot of fertilizer. You're not going to be mowing it near as much to get to this type of quality of grass that OSU's come up with. The breeding is incredible. It's the grasses of the future.
So what about on the horizon? You mentioned there's some experimental plots out here. What do you do exactly?
We, in conjunction with Dr. Wu, have put out plots for them specifically to watch and check out from a sod producer standpoint of what the production's like and how they produce as a grass against just the regular Bermudas that we have in production. And we get to watch them, and Dr. Wu and you will come in over and see them and just enjoy watching them come about.
So what, of course, Latitude 36, Northbridge, you've got some great grasses, and you've got some older grasses like Astro that are great and very popular. Why would you want a new one? What are you looking for here?
Looking for green up, cold tolerance. We're in a zone here where you can lose grasses in the winter to winter kill. When we get a lot of snow and stuff like that and it stands on the grass, we're looking to get just a better, tighter, turf quality grass for the homeowner and for the sports field. You can mow this grass at 1.5 inches. You can mow it at 1/4 inch. You can mow it any way you want. You can make it into what you want it to be. And that's what's fun about them. The older grasses, you can't do that.
So take us through a little bit. We saw your son's out here working hard, and you've got several employees out here. So how do you cut it? Do you just have individual machines out here? You got Ben doing that? How does that work exactly?
Well, you just saw my son and his new toy over there.
That looked pretty neat.
Yeah, that's the newest generation of sod production in the United States. That's like the number 39 serial number. It's coming. And then we do what you call the big rolls for the commercial jobs. But the pallet grass is what the consumer wants. And the little small yards, like we have a lot of yards nowadays, are 3,000 or 4,000 square feet, where you used to have quarter-acre yards. The yards are getting smaller. So we cut a lot of pallet grass for that.
So if a homeowner wants to buy a pallet of your sod, what are they getting? How many square feet are they getting? How big are those pieces?
Yeah, the pieces are 10 square feet. We usually put 500 square feet on a pallet. They can come out and pick it up, or we deliver it to them, any amount they want. And they can order the lattice. They can go on the website for Sod Solutions and look at all your products. And it explains and gives a cold tolerance. These grasses that you've got are much more cold tolerant. And that's a great product besides the fact that they're drought tolerant.
Right.
They're really good for the consumer.
So they can get this 500 square foot of pallet, and you no longer have to go out there and stack it yourself, do you?
No.
Now, what do you prefer? Would you rather be out stacking it, or would you rather drive that machine?
That's a no-brainer. And the kids are loving it, sitting in the air conditioning.
That's
no
right.
sweat.
You can't beat that.
No, but they're fun. It's fun. It's fun to take it to the consumer and have the consumer see what a beautiful instant product they're getting versus seed and all these things you see on TV where they spray the seed and the mulch and fill the patches in and stuff like that. We've got grass right now ready to go, and it's some of it will be up to a year old. It's really healthy. Doesn't need anything except a little love and attention.
That's right.
Dr. Wu and Dr. Martin and yourself, OSU has been a leader in the nation in this new turf grass varieties, which is so great for the country. It's what we need in this southern part of the United States is new good Bermudas, and we got them. You got them. It's OSU. Here we go.
And that's what's great about it is we want to do things that are good for our state, good for the growers of our state.
Oh, sure.
And good for ultimately the homeowners in our state that they can use and use less water, use less fertilizers, and be more cold tolerant and all the things you mentioned.
You're a servant of the land. You're taking care of the land. You're helping it out. You're not wasting your water by having to overwater it when it's new and you get some crummy sod. This stuff's ready.
Ready to go.
OSU is doing great things in the turf industry. You guys have got to be proud.
So here we are by the Arkansas River here in Leonard, Oklahoma,
Leonard.
right near Bixby, and there's lots of great sod growers in the state. Lots of your friends around here doing the same thing as you. And
we're not the only ones out here. Everybody we have an Oklahoma Sod Producers Association, which Dr. Martin works tightly with the Oklahoma Turf Grass Research Foundation. We support OSU and all the sod farmers. Everybody's in it because they like it. They're all old farmers, just like me, just loving it.
Hey, you can't beat it. And you told me earlier, you don't take vacation because this is your vacation,
you betcha.
You love it
out
here.
I don't need to go anywhere. Why go anywhere and fight the crowds?
That's right.
I got peace and quiet and everything else going on right here in the Arkansas River.
Well, we appreciate it, Charles. Thanks for having us out today.
Hey, I'm glad you came.
All right, thank you.
We are here at Southern Hills Country Club, joined by Wilson Neese, who is the horticulture manager. And Wilson, you've got a little bit of technology. How's that changing?
Yes, we do. Yeah, and so you can look behind us to see our drone that we have. And so we started this about a little over a year ago. And so our drone, we have it on a GPS system, and every day we fly our pattern of the golf course, and we get a visual image. And it's a thermal image of the golf course, so we can see our hot spots where our grass is growing well and kind of get the overall pattern of what our golf course goes through the changes from how we water to the rain that we receive, so we can kind of know where areas will dry out a little faster than others, and just kind of the overall health of our golf course.
So it actually gives you an infrared image back of all of your course.
Yes, so it's a full visual image, and so so we can kind of go day by day and be able to kind of in our mind kind of see the pattern that our golf course provides.
So this is quite a controller here. Are you controlling it, or what's the process?
I'll launch it and then I'll put it into the autopilot, and we have our GPS map right here. And so it will fly the points, and then all we have to do is land it, and put it into the system, and it'll provide us our visual image of the golf course.
And how long will it take for you to get those images back?
It takes about 4 to 5 hours after we fly. So our flight will last about 25 minutes, and then we'll plug it into the system, and then the guys from Green Site up in Boston, Massachusetts will be able to provide us that information in about 4 to 5 hours.
So this is a service that you've actually contracted with somebody in Boston that's helping with.
Yeah, so they have about 25 courses, mainly on the eastern part of the United States. And so, yeah, so it's a company that they lease the drones out to us, and yeah, so they monitor the flight. So I have another person on the other end looking at the computer, making sure the battery life, everything is going well through the flight. So.
All right, and we've got all of our air clearance.
Yes,
are we ready
do.
To launch?
Yes, we are. We are ready to launch.
Let's take off then.
Okay.
There are lots of great horticultural events this time of year. Be sure and consider these activities when you're making your plans for the weeks ahead. To find out more information about show topics, as well as recipes, videos, articles, fact sheets, and other resources, including a directory of local extension offices, be sure and visit our website, oklahomagardening.okstate.edu. And we always have great information, answers to questions, photos, and gardening discussions on your favorite social media as well. Join in on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find this entire show and other recent shows, as well as individual segments on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And tune in to our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel to watch segments from previous hosts. Oklahoma Gardening is produced by the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University. The Botanic Garden at OSU is home to our studio gardens, and we encourage you to come visit this beautiful Stillwater jewel. We wish to thank our generous underwriters, Southwood Landscape and Garden Center, and the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry. Additional support is provided by Pond Pro Shops, Greenleaf Nursery and the Garden Debut Plants, and the Oklahoma Horticultural Society.